Never in our lifetimes have we seen a political party go to such lengths to cast aspersions and disdain on the individual likely to lead them into a presidential election. Former POTUS candidate Mitt Romney is now the latest to dig in his heels against Donald Trump. This as the GOP preps for yet another chance to prove why they belong in the White House. Another opening, another show, and another debate. But the opposition believes they are sharpening their message with one less voice to worry about. We are told by some that the African-American community will rally behind Donald Trump. They will turn out to support him despite reports of racism and anger toward anyone of color who disagrees with him. We're going to get a dose of reality on this one. And speaking of the GOP leader, he has finally issued an actual plan on American health care. How much of this is based in reality? The only show that deals from reality first and tosses out the idiocy of screaming at each other. We don't do that here. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Thursday, March 3rd, 2016.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the members of the American public for suckers. He gets a free ride to the White House, and all we get is a lousy hat.
Mitt was thinking about running again. He ran a horrible campaign. It was a campaign that should have never been lost. You're running against a failed president. He came up with the 47%. He demeaned 47% of the people in our country, right? The famous 47%.
At a time in our entertainment adult society when network broadcasters and hotshot producers are seeking ways to cash in with monster ratings and create TV programming that will break records, we submit to you the formula is already there for anybody to take advantage of. Take a silver spoon, reality star billionaire, have him run for president of the United States. Watch as a panicked political party realizes how badly they have screwed over their constituents for decades, go into complete panic. Watch as that former presidential candidate you heard of before calmly states his opinion about the big guy. Then sit back and wait for the billionaire to hit Twitter. Massive success. It all played out today in just the latest episode of a show that has captivated and changed a nation. Welcome back to veteran Republican strategist, who like many wonders where that supposed peace with the GOP Donald Trump was talking about went, Ford O'Connell, joined by the editor of Red Alert Politics, Ron Meyer. All right, gentlemen, let's get to work. Mr. O'Connell, I begin with you. So, how did Mitt Romney do today?
It was a weak sister attempt to take down Donald Trump. I don't think it's going to change the trajectory of the race. Herein lies the deal. There were some legitimate criticisms levied at the Donald, but herein lied the problem. It was Romney who was making him, who has no ground to walk on. So, fail for Romney. Trump, keep going. All
right, now, wait a minute. I'm going to ask Ron about this. Ron, Ford just said that he has no ground to walk on when it comes to Mitt Romney. Well, why not? He was pretty big in the party, still is considered to be a man of respect, I guess, was a presidential candidate. Why not?
Well, I got to say, when Mitt Romney ran last time, I wasn't an original supporter of his, but after the campaign he ran, I really did feel like he poured his heart and soul into it, and I also think that he really represented conservatives, and that's what I was worried about in the first place when he ran in 2012. I thought his speech, I think it was a perfect speech. Where is that from the other candidates who are running against Trump? I think he made the perfect anti-Trump speech, but he's not the right guy to do it. But I liked his speech. I agreed with his speech, but I mean, that's just a personal opinion. As far as the impact on the race, I think it'll fire up the Trump supporters to say, hey, you know what, it's the establishment. That's the one thing I don't like about the narrative coming out of the speech, is that having Mitt Romney give that speech means that everybody can say, oh, look, it's the establishment trying to stop Trump. When the truth is, there are American conservatives who are saying, if the Republican Party is taken over by a European-style nationalist, is it a conservative party anymore? And should I still be a part of that party? I think that's what a lot of conservatives, frankly, at CPAC, where I just was, are asking themselves. If our party is no longer represented by a conservative, even a moderate conservative, Donald Trump is a nationalist. He's got a different ideology.
All right,
would we still stay in the party?
Ford, let me come to you then, because Donald Trump comes right back, says that Romney would have been begging for his endorsement 4 years ago, and, quote, I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees. He would have dropped to his knees. He's indeed a choke artist. All this back and forth. Okay, look, we get it. You are both exactly right. Mitt Romney is likely not the right person to deliver the message to go up against Donald Trump because he is former establishment. So then, Ford, let's ask the simple question then. Who or what would be the right individual and or message to fire away at Donald Trump that would make a dent?
I understand the following. I teach political communications at GW Graduate School of Political Management. All the candidates created the cardinal sin in Political Science 101. They allowed Donald Trump for 6 months to define himself before they defined him for them. And because of that, I don't really see any stopping Donald Trump. The only question is, when does he get 1,237 delegates? And if he doesn't get 1,237, he's still going to come away with the most votes. Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. It's really that simple. There's no way to stop him now. The idea that Rubio's going to win Florida, Kasich's going to win Ohio is something out of Fantasia.
All right, now, hang on a sec, because I want to hear from a couple of people right now. First of all, while Trump was firing at Romney, Chris Christie held his own press conference. Shocked a lot of people that he wasn't there with Donald Trump, and he was defending his endorsement of Trump. Here's what he said.
I believe that he's the best person to beat Hillary Clinton. And that as a Republican, I feel strongly about making sure that Hillary Clinton does not become president of the United States. And I believe Donald Trump is the best person of those remaining to do that.
Ron, I talked to some friends of mine today in New Jersey, and they called Chris Christie one of the great political opportunists of all time. As a matter of fact, one really great business friend of mine said, as a matter of fact, let's go up to Chris Christie and say, well, of course you're doing this, because as soon as we kick you out of New Jersey and get you out of your governor's role, you're going to need a job. What do you think?
Ding, ding, ding. I couldn't agree more. Here's the thing. It's like Chris Christie forgot math. Look at every single poll that's been taken in the last year. Donald Trump does the worst of any Republican out there. Any Republican. He is right now losing to Hillary Clinton by more than 8%. And this is the same Hillary Clinton who's under investigation. The same Hillary Clinton who has had to run to the left because of Bernie Sanders.
But wait a minute, Ron, I'm going to stop you here. Hang on one sec. I'm going to stop you there. And you're right on all those numbers. We just showed the numbers. However, the supporters of Donald Trump will say, Ron Meyer, guys like you, O'Connell, Berliner, all the rest of you. 6 months ago, you were telling us there's no way that Donald Trump would ever get close to the nomination. Now he's the dead-on shot, and he's the guy that's going to be there.
I said he could. I want to get that on record here. It was in July I said he couldn't.
All right, but you know what I'm saying here, Ford. Many people are saying all you guys and gals out there said that there's no way, and he wouldn't be there, and he'd be gone by now. So, Ron, your information is exactly right, but what about those people who would say, you guys have said this all before, and you were wrong?
Well, the polls haven't changed for he stayed where he was, right? So in the Republican Party, all of us who are saying, well, maybe these numbers will fall, they haven't fallen. But you're saying that that the poll numbers aren't right, and they're somehow magically going to change in the general election. What we learned about Donald Trump is that the poll numbers were right. He was winning in the Republican nomination, but next is the general election. And so if you say the polls are right in the Republican nomination, then they're wrong in the general, which side are you going to take? The truth is, young people, minorities are not going to support Donald Trump. Women, young women especially, are not going to support Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton literally has a softball to hit out of the park because of some of the statements he said. And if you don't think that she's going to use them and use them well, you haven't been following the Clintons very well.
Good, look out. Ford is chomping at the bit. Go ahead.
I totally disagree with you. Look, I do agree that he's doing the worst among the top three in the polls, Ron, but he has the media IQ of Einstein, and frankly, there's only so much you can win and lose this election by. Understand there's only 7 battleground states, and the question's very simple. Can Donald Trump win Florida, Ohio, and Virginia? If he does, he's the president, Hillary Clinton isn't. Stop making it so difficult. I have a feeling the one thing about Donald Trump is he is a unique political animal who will change his tone and rhetoric. As of today, I would say he's not the most electable on the Republican side, but the way he's changed over time, he's shown himself to be a pretty good political strategist, and I can see him manning up to the task at hand.
All right, here's the second person we're going to hear from. Hang on one sec, Ron, because we got to move on. John Kasich said it was important to stop Mr. Trump now, predicted that he would win his home state of Ohio, and the GOP primary likely will end up with a contested convention in Cleveland. Here's what he said.
I think the notion that you can beat Trump by calling him names, I don't think you get there that way. I'm not going that way, and I'm not using that kind of rhetoric because, look, I believe that over time people will have a chance to hear things, and if I win Ohio, he's not going to be the nominee. I mean, we're going to go to the convention, I'm going to be the nominee.
Ron, we haven't seen a brokered convention in 64 years for either party. Do you believe we are on a collision course with just that?
The idea that John Kasich would come out of a brokered convention is quite hilarious. There's no way that someone who is from John Kasich's background would win in a convention situation. You need 50% of the delegates. I do think that there's still a chance for a brokered convention. In fact, a strong one. And it's kind of funny. The Republican process changed to try to make sure the process was shorter by doing these proportional states and loading them up at the beginning. But because of the proportional states, we have more likely than ever to have a contested convention. if Donald Trump loses either Ohio or Florida, it's going to be tough for him. If he loses both, it's almost impossible for him to get the delegates he needs. And so we would go to a contested convention. And so then it becomes the delegates who are elected by local parties, how will they vote in that second round? And that's an interesting question.
All right.
These people who are sent there are a mix of both establishment folks who have been serving in local parties and grassroots people and people who want to get involved in the process. I think that would lean toward a traditional conservative, not towards Donald Trump.
All right. Hey, Ford, I've only got a minute left. Quickly then from you, I want to go back to Ron, but I heard some people huffing and puffing today about a brokered convention saying, whoa, that's not in the spirit of democracy of America, and that means that it's nothing more than a rigged system. Really?
Yeah, well, guess what? If we have a broker convention, every civil war is going to break out, and a third of the party is going to run away.
Well, that's a given.
Let me say this. I do think that Trump is most likely going to win Florida and Ohio, and if he doesn't, Ron makes a great point, but I'm going to say this, he's going to still wind up with the most votes, and he's most likely going to become the nominee before we actually go to a broker convention.
Ron, isn't a brokered convention, when they talk about spirit of democracy, isn't that part of what makes a convention a convention?
It certainly is. And I agree that it could be a problem if there's a brokered convention and Donald Trump doesn't win. But the fact of the matter is that it's too late for him to file in a lot of states to run third party. He'd have to be a party's nominee. So the Constitution Party or some third party would have to nominate him.
Ron, I wasn't worried about him running as a third party nominee. I was worried about 30% of the Republicans who voted for him staying home.
Yeah, but wait a minute now, guys. Let's be honest here. Donald Trump keeps shaking around that third party idea every night.
Doesn't matter. He's out of ballot access rules. He can do whatever he wants.
There you go. All right, gentlemen, thank you for bringing some common sense to all this. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Don't worry, Ron. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about this as we move forward towards November. Absolutely. Ford O'Connell, Ron Meyer, thanks so much for joining us. You're going to join us tonight because the debate tonight in Houston, and of course that means right here on Newsmax, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Pacific Time. We'll bring you the post-debate special and see what they said, when they said it, how they said it, if they said it, and should they have said it, and all those other good things as well. Stick around. The Hardline